The message arrived at exactly 6:12 p.m., lighting up Emma Carter's phone while she stood alone in the grocery store parking lot. Keys in hand, heart already tired from a long day. Housewarming party this Saturday. Big news to share. Hope you'll come, Daniel. For a moment, the world around her seemed to pause. Cars moved. People laughed nearby. But Emma stood still, staring at her brother's name like it carried a weight she wasn't ready to lift. Daniel never invited her to things anymore. Not dinners. Not holidays. Not even quick check-in calls. So a housewarming party with big news felt less like kindness and more like a warning. Emma and Daniel grew up in the same quiet Ohio town, raised under the same roof, shaped by the same family stories. But somewhere between childhood and adulthood, something cracked. Daniel learned how to win rooms. Emma learned how to survive quietly inside them. The only person who always noticed that difference was their grandfather, Harold Carter. Grandpa Harold had been Emma's safe place. He listened without rushing. He asked real questions. And every summer, he took her to his small vacation home by a lake in Michigan, a place that smelled like pine trees and old coffee mugs, where mornings were slow and evenings were filled with stories. That lake house felt more like home than anywhere else in Emma's life. 6 months had passed since Grandpa Harold died. Emma still hadn't fully accepted it. Grief didn't come in loud waves for her. It stayed silent, tucked behind everyday moments, waiting. Now Daniel's message pulled all of it back to the surface. Emma almost typed an excuse. Work, travel, not feeling well. But her fingers stopped. Some part of her needed to see him. Needed to understand why he reached out now. Saturday came faster than she expected. Daniel's new house sat in a growing neighborhood outside Columbus' clean lines. Wide windows, carefully chosen plants. It looked impressive, confident, like a place built to be admired. Cars filled the driveway and spilled onto the street. Music floated from the backyard. Laughter followed. Emma smoothed her dress, took one steady breath, and walked inside. The house was full. Conversations overlapped. Glasses clinked. Daniel moved through the crowd easily, shaking hands, laughing loud, playing host like it was second nature. Emma watched him from a distance. He looked successful, comfortable, untouched by loss. When Daniel finally noticed her, his smile paused for half a second, just long enough for her to feel it. "Emma," he said, hugging her briefly. "You came. You invited me," she replied softly. "Yeah, glad you're here." The hug ended quickly. He turned back to his guests, already distracted. Emma wandered through the house, nodding politely as people introduced themselves. Daniel's coworkers, friends, neighbors, everyone seemed to know something important was coming. That made her uneasy. As the sun lowered and the backyard filled, Daniel gathered everyone near the patio. He tapped his glass with a spoon, his voice cutting cleanly through the noise. "Hey, everyone, thanks for coming." The crowd quieted. Emma stood near the edge, her hands clasped tightly. "This housewarming means a lot to me," Daniel said. "This year has been a turning point." Emma felt her chest tighten. "As you all know, my grandfather passed away earlier this year. He was a big influence in my life." Emma swallowed. Grandpa Harold's name still felt fragile in the air. Before he passed, Daniel continued. He made sure something special stayed in the family. A pause, long enough to feel intentional. "He left me his vacation home in Michigan." The words landed heavy. A few people gasped. Someone clapped. Others smiled wide. "That's incredible," a guest said. Daniel raised his glass. "To family and new beginnings." Applause followed. Emma felt like the ground had shifted under her feet. That house wasn't just a property. It was the place Grandpa taught her how to fish, where he listened to her dreams without judgment, where she felt chosen. Daniel didn't look at her at first. When he finally did, his expression was hard to read. Pride sat there. So did something else. Guilt, maybe, or relief. Emma forced a smile she didn't feel. The party continued as if nothing had happened. Music turned louder. Conversations resumed. The announcement faded into celebration. But Emma stood frozen, the sound of laughter distant and dull. She moved toward the edge of the yard where shadows gathered near the fence. She needed air, space, something solid. That was a lot, a calm voice said nearby. Emma turned. A man stood a few feet away, holding 2 glasses of lemonade. He looked kind, steady, not trying too hard. "I'm Noah," he said. "I thought you might want one." She hesitated, then accepted the glass. "Thank you." They stood quietly for a moment. "I'm sorry," Noah added. "I could tell that news wasn't easy for you." Emma exhaled slowly. "You're observant." He smiled gently. "Sometimes." Across the yard, Daniel laughed loudly, surrounded by people congratulating him. It felt planned, Emma said before she could stop herself. Noah nodded. "I had the same thought." They didn't say much after that. They didn't need to. The quiet felt honest. Soon, Emma said her goodbyes. Daniel hugged her again, this time lingering a second longer. "We should talk soon," he said. "Sure," she replied, though she didn't know what that meant anymore. The drive home felt heavy. Every mile pulled memories to the surface early mornings by the lake. Grandpa's voice reminding her that some things mattered more than applause. That night, sleep didn't come easily. Emma stared at the ceiling, replaying Daniel's words, his timing, his choice to share the news publicly. She wondered if the invitation had ever been about reconnecting or if she was just part of the audience. Somewhere deep inside, a quiet question formed. What if Grandpa Harold's story hadn't ended the way Daniel told it? And what if this wasn't just about a house, but about everything Emma had been afraid to claim? The thought followed her into the dark, unanswered, waiting. Emma didn't sleep that night. The memory of Daniel's announcement at the housewarming kept replaying in her mind like a film she couldn't pause. Grandpa Harold's vacation home, their secret sanctuary, was now Daniel's. Just like that. It's a place that had always felt safe. A place that had belonged to both of them in memory, suddenly felt closed off. She tried to tell herself it was just a house, but her chest ached with something deeper. Loss, betrayal, confusion. The next afternoon, while she was sipping coffee and staring out the window at the quiet city street, a soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Emma frowned. She wasn't expecting anyone. Her phone buzzed on the counter, ignored. The knock came again, insistent but polite. She set her cup down, smoothed her hair, and opened the door. A man stood there, tall, calm, with kind eyes that seemed to study her without judgment. He carried nothing but a gentle presence. "Hi," he said. "I hope I'm not bothering you." Emma blinked. "Who?" "Noah. Noah Simmons. I know that probably means nothing right now, but I've known your grandfather. I worked with him a lot last year. He trusted me to check on things, help with, well, everything that mattered to him." Emma stepped aside, letting him in, curiosity wrestling with caution. Noah followed her into the small kitchen, keeping his hands in his pockets, careful not to intrude. He placed 2 glasses of lemonade on the table and offered her one. "For you," he said simply. She hesitated, then accepted it. The cool liquid was a small comfort against the storm of emotion still churning inside her. They sat across from each other in silence for a moment, the afternoon sunlight spilling across the wooden floor. "I wanted to tell you something," Noah began, his voice low and deliberate. "Something your grandfather wanted you to know." Emma felt her pulse quicken. She had expected confrontation, tension, maybe even justification. She didn't expect this stranger, calm and deliberate, to hold the key to clarity. "What is it?" She asked cautiously. "He worried about you," Noah said. "Not because you were failing or struggling, but because you've always been the kind of person who puts others first. He loved that about you." He said the lake house. That place where you were happiest. Should never be a source of pain or separation. Emma's throat tightened. Memories of early mornings fishing, evenings, sitting on the porch, watching the sunset. Grandpa's laughter echoing across the water all rushed in at once. "I don't understand," she whispered. "Daniel, he made it sound like it was all his now. Like I was supposed to just accept that?" Noah nodded, gently. Daniel's announcement was true in part, but it wasn't the whole story. Grandpa's will had conditions, shared access, shared decisions. The house wasn't meant to shut you out, Daniel. Chose not to mention that part. Emma's hands trembled slightly as she absorbed the words. Relief and heartbreak collided in equal measure. Relief that Grandpa hadn't wanted to hurt her. Heartbreak that Daniel had acted as though he owned the memories and the place completely. Noah leaned back, giving her space to process. I didn't know how to reach you before. I didn't want to overstep. But I couldn't stay silent. You needed to know the truth because he cared about you more than anything. For the first time in months, Emma felt seen. Not by her brother, not by the guests at the housewarming, but by someone who understood the depth of her connection to her grandfather. Someone who could speak to it without judgment, without expectation. Over the next few weeks, Emma and Noah kept in touch. Coffee turned into long walks through city streets. Walks turned into quiet dinners. And dinners turned into hours spent talking about everything from childhood memories to dreams for the future. Their connection grew slowly, naturally, without pressure or forced intimacy. Noah wasn't rushing her. He simply showed up, consistent and kind, reminding her that trust and care could still exist. Meanwhile, Daniel began to notice the shift. He stopped sending invitations that excluded Emma and started asking her opinion about family matters. Small things at first, but gradually bigger conversations too. He wasn't perfect. He still carried pride and stubbornness, but he was trying. And Emma, through her talks with Noah, began to understand that closure wasn't about forcing reconciliation, it was about reclaiming her own power, her own memories, and choosing how she wanted to step into the future. Autumn arrived with crisp mornings and golden leaves, and Emma finally returned to Michigan. She stepped onto the wooden dock, the lake shimmering in the sunlight just like it had in her childhood. Every breath felt like coming home, not just to a place, but to herself. She remembered Grandpa's words, "Some things are meant to be shared, Em." And now she understood. The lake house wasn't just a building. It was a symbol of love, trust, and connection that spanned generations. Noah was there, waiting quietly, offering a smile that spoke volumes without words. Their hands brushed as they stood together on the dock, tentative at first, then steady. There was no rush, no claim, just presence. Emma realized that the house, the lake, and the memories she had feared losing were hers in every way that mattered. And she also realized that she wasn't alone anymore. Daniel eventually came to. He didn't make grand apologies or try to rewrite the past. He simply showed up, small gestures at first, gradually proving that he could be part of the story without taking it over. Emma learned that healing didn't demand perfection, it demanded honesty and willingness to try. The lake house became a place of reconciliation. Not just with her brother, but with herself. Emma could sit on the porch, watch the sun set, hear the faint echo of Grandpa Harold's laughter, and feel at peace. She could think about the future and what it might hold. And when she looked at Noah standing beside her, quiet and steady, she allowed herself to hope. It wasn't about possessions or control anymore. It was about truth, connection, and the space to grieve, love, and grow. And for the first time in months, Emma felt that she could breathe fully again, knowing that the lake house, the memories, and the love it held would always be a part of her, and that maybe, just maybe, new beginnings were possible too. The water lapped softly against the dock. The wind stirred the autumn leaves, and Emma, standing there with Noah and thinking of Daniel, realized that life could still surprise her with moments of grace, understanding, and even unexpected joy. The lake house had returned to its purpose, a sanctuary for love, for truth, and for everything yet to come. And as the sun sank below the horizon, painting the sky with colors only nature could create, Emma smiled, ready to step into the next chapter of her life, anchored in the past, present, and the possibilities that lay ahead.